so Nikhil talked a lot about that big picture, right, of what we do with the platform. I want to give you a little more deeper dive into how we strategize and think about that platform. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kendra Skeene. I know probably half of you really well. We've been working together for years. But for the other half, I'm Kendra Skeene. I'm the Director of Product. And what that means is I oversee the strategy for our enterprise platform. Just a fun fact for today, the FYI, I was looking over our signups of who we have here today, and it's about 2/3 of you have been on our platform for a long time. We've all worked together for a while, and you use the platform regularly. About another third of you do not. And so that means that either you have your own sort of web platform that you're working on, and you want to know more about how we think about ours to help inform yours. Some of you might be looking to whether or not we're a good fit for you. So I'm going to try to talk a little bit to all of those different audiences today. And any additional questions in the future, grab me at lunch and we can talk some more. All right, so I talked about we have an enterprise web platform, but what does that even mean, right? And Nikhil talked on this as well. So we know it takes a lot of different resources to run a website. It's not, you think of that aw shucks general store model. It's a lot of different things that go into running a website. And so if we're expanding that across every agency, if every agency has their own store, that's a huge duplication of effort. What we're really trying to do is prevent that duplication of effort, that having a Kendra at every single agency and having a Nikhil at every single agency, and try to centralize as much of that as we can so that you can focus on the things that you know the best, right? That content and that strategy piece. So that's what we do by centralizing all that information. And we're also able to really be a partner with our agencies and a champion for those visitors. So we're not amazing. This is the best part of my job, is that my job is not to turn a profit for anybody. My job is to make sure that you are able to serve your agency or your constituents as easily as possible. And so that's one thing that differentiates us from, let's say, a web shop that can build a website for you, is that we don't need to make money, we need to serve visitors. So that really helps us focus on the things that matter most. Open source then takes that a step further because, as Nikhil mentioned, we're on a Drupal open source platform. There are people all over the world innovating on this platform every single day. A lot of them have similar problems to what you have. And so if someone else, it's not even us, solves a problem, we can use that. And that speeds innovation for us, it speeds innovation for everybody. And then we're able to solve problems and put those out again for other people to be able to use that across the globe as well. So that also, as it speeds innovation, it helps us to do things like implement a mobile strategy across the whole enterprise really quickly. It helps us scale that accessibility across the entire enterprise and share some things back to the community as well. We've been able to do some things with increasing our performance and security. So what does that look like? Nikhil showed you this roadmap as well. So over the last few years, we focused on making things mobile friendly, accessible, and then more recently we've been looking at performance, and that's the site speed, how quickly your pages load. When we're thinking about what do we want to innovate on next, these are sort of the things that we've talked about, right? We're like, is this going to help our users? Is this going to help our agency partners? If it doesn't do those things, why would we even focus on it? Is it going to be focused for the future? Is this going to be something we can use going forward? And will it provide good value for our dollars and our resources? So accessibility, the thing that we rolled out this last year, does it help our end users? Absolutely it does. It helps every user. An accessible platform is more useful to people with disabilities, but also everybody, because it's just easier to use. And so it definitely helps our end users. It's also going to help our agency partners. Again, if it's usable for people, you're going to have less people calling in or visiting your offices. Is it future focused? We're WCAG 2.0 AA compliant now, and so we're actually looking towards, we're compliant for things that aren't even standards yet, right? So definitely future focused, focus on all of our constituents. And does it provide the best value? And that's where we're able to partner with other people. We're able to do something at one scale that helps 76 websites all at once. So it definitely provides good value, and it's something we could do in-house. So we could partner with AMAC, and so we're able to do a lot really quickly. So that's, the way we have one of those accessibility met all of these needs, very large scale. Performance is something that we consider also meets a lot of those needs, but it wasn't as high a priority because you'll see there's certain things that doesn't meet as the needs all the way. Like the performance, yes, that's going to help on this platform. It's not going to help as well on our next platform. We'll have to start all over again. But some things that we can focus on. All right, and that's where, just to give you an idea of how we prioritize all these different things, how we sort of think about it. Let me tell you about the one that we've been working on more recently, this web performance, site speed. Like, what does that mean? I've written a lot of blog posts about this, and Kel told you we have our blog online. If you want to know the details, I've written a lot about what we're doing and why we're doing it. But I'll give you the really quick rundown. So, all right, our site speed, it's affected by a lot of different things. Again, really quickly. Things like how many files are loading on a page, the size of each of those files on a page, how quick the server is, the database, the number of images that are loading, how large those images are, and a user's internet or data connection speed. The first few, we're responsible for on our platform. We can control those. The next ones, that's you, right? That's our content managers. You need to think about the number of images, whether or not they're important, and the size of those images. And then the user's internet and connection speed, we have no control. The users have no control, right? So we're very sympathetic to that, and that's the goal. That's why we're thinking about those top 6, is because we know that there's this big piece that we have no control over. And why do I care about that? Well, as Nick Hill said, over the platform, about 40% of our users are on mobile devices. We know that mobile data plans can often be slow and costly. And we also know that our users start to lose interest after your page takes more than a second to load. A 10-second load speed, which plenty of state platforms are, not ours. A 10-second load speed is about a 38% increase in heart rate, which is comparable to watching a horror movie or standing in front of a big crowd of people. It's also considered worse than waiting in line. So if you think about, I can wait for this page to load really painfully, or I can just walk over to the office and have deal with someone there. So faster load times are going to save everybody time and money, right? For the agencies, it should reduce call volume. You'll have fewer walk-ins. For users, it's going to be quicker for them to get their information. There's going to be less data usage on their phone. I know my husband's constantly watching his data plan and how much he's got left, so that's one thing you don't have to worry about as well. And it's going to be a reduction in stress, right? We're talking about less visits to the doctor. So here's some of the things that we've done recently to improve performance, again, across the whole platform, all 78 sites all at once. We've aggregated some CSS and JavaScript, so that's fewer server calls. We've adjusted some caching for quicker server response. We've adjusted the order of some of those server calls so important content loads first and then the secondary loads later. For our theme, we've done a really large image theme compression effort. So by large, I mean we did it across a large scale, but again, we were able to do it one place that affects everybody. One example of what that looks like when we compress our theme images, we have this background image on a couple of our site or themes, multiple sites. So this is what it looked like before. This is what it looked like after the image compression, right? See that? Before, after. You can't tell on my screen either. It's not even that it's projected. There's almost no difference between what it looked like before we compressed it and what it looked like after we compressed it. Except that it's like 180 kilobytes smaller. I was a little frustrated when I realized we had this image up all this time. It could be so much smaller. But yeah, so we went through, we're able to compress a lot of images. And overall, some of our themes decreased by 500 kilobytes in assets just by doing this image compression effort across the platform. So what does 500 kilobytes mean? That's about 5 seconds of load time on a fast 3G network. That's about 2 cents in mobile data, which doesn't seem like a lot, except you consider that our platform had at least 345,000 sessions last month on data plans. Not on mobile, right? Because mobile, I know a lot of us are for Wi-Fi, but that's on data plans. So just that can save our users over 5,000 hours aggregate, right? $83,000 per year just by compressing some images. So that's, again, across the whole platform, that's a pretty big impact. And that's the kind of enterprise strategy that we're able to do here that impacts a lot of people and saves a lot of agencies from even having to think about it. So that's one thing that we can take off of your plate. Now, I would be remiss if I went on and didn't come back to the part that our agency content managers are responsible for, and that's the number of images, whether or not each image you load is important, if it's adding value, and then how large those images are, whether you take the time to actually resave it to the right size and compress it before you upload it. Back to plugging the blog, I think it's next Tuesday's blog post is specifically how you all can do this. We've got some links to resources there to help you out. And then each of these initiatives impacts our long-term strategies. So we have mobile-friendly. Now everything new that we do needs to be mobile-friendly. We optimize our platform for accessibility. Everything new we do needs to be accessible. We've been optimizing for performance. Every new thing needs to be optimized for performance. We don't just do it once and call it a day. This is a continuous process. And then in that continuous process, we have monthly code releases. We work with our vendors to prioritize what we need to update on our platform every month. And then we sort of go through this whole process. So we prioritize, our vendors work to implement that. We test it to make sure it's looking the way we want it to. Our vendors improve on the bugs that we find. We test again to make sure they caught everything. Look good, we launch it, and then we review again to make sure, again, once it's on that on the public-facing platform, that it's still looking the way we expected it to. And so it's like a cycle, but it's also more like a dance. There's definitely a lot of back and forth every month to make sure that we get all these things updated for you. And then part of that is a communication process, right? So once it's launched, we communicate to all of you, we let you know what we've done, and then you all review it, and you give me feedback and say, this is great, can we also do that? Or, hey, this isn't quite what I would have expected, can we also do that? Right, so we're all working together here. It's like a big fun dance. And then we start all over again. So, where we're at, some of the new features that we've been working on for you. Again, we're going back to those priorities. We've been looking at some location mapping. We have locations for you right now. We're working on improving on how we lay out and map those locations. We're also doing some theme layouts and flexibility things for how you lay out your pages. Before we looked at those big kites and we said like accessibility meets all of these needs, you'll notice that here we're sort of taking a slightly different approach with these two things. So whereas the location mapping is focused on helping you communicate to your users and helping your users, when it comes to the layout and theme flexibility, I had to be honest and say, well, it's not really focused on our users much at all, right? This is a time where we heard so much from our agencies, I need to be able to control this. My commissioner wants me to do that we had to start saying like, okay, well, no, it's not really user-centric, but it's going to empower our content managers to be able to sort of meet the needs that they need, where they feel like they can present what they need to present to make everybody happy. Right, and so that's why we're implementing some of these layout and theme updates. All right, so what these are, one thing that we're going to be rolling out probably by the end of this summer is some multi-column layout options. So we've heard from a lot of people, we want to be able to have 3 columns of links instead of just 1 column of links. And so we've got some different options where you'll be able to say on your site page or on a blog, give me 3 columns here. 2 columns are going to be text, 1 column is going to be an image. We're going to have video here. It's also going to help with our infographic support. So Rachel's going to be talking later today about how you can build infographics and how those kind of help communicate to your users. But the challenge that we were running into is like, sure, we're uploading this huge image to a page. It's not meeting all of those other checkpoints that we focus on so much. So with this layout, we're going to be able to also make sure we're sort of building in some new functionality for infographics so that it does meet our mobile requirements, our performance requirements, and our accessibility requirements. We're updating our theme options so that we have more flexibility over the color palettes for each of our themes and flexibility in background imagery. So those of you who you've had your theme for so long, but it doesn't match your agency's color palette or your redesign the colors that you're using, we can work with you to update that going forward. Now again, this isn't something that we're going to open up to each agency to pick their own color palette, and the reason is accessibility. We need to be able to test each color and make sure that the contrast is going to work for accessibility before we implement those, but we will be able to work with you on just sort of opening up those color palettes for you in the future. All right, and then I want to tell you more detail about locations. About a year ago, we added a new content type to the platform, a locations content type, and it allows you to create a detailed map for each location if you have physical locations for your agency. And then we can also display it. This is one of our listing pages where you can actually filter through and see, either search for a county or a city or scroll through our list. We'll have a map of your, or we do, we have a map of your location with your address, the area served, phone numbers, hours, contact information. And this has been available for a while. We're now working to make some additions and improvements to that that I think will make these even more useful for those of you that aren't using it now because, well, it doesn't serve this need or that need. We'll be able to open that up some more. So this is a wireframe, sort of what we've been communicating with our vendors to try to implement, try to add to. We're going to be able to let you mark sort of services that you offer in a location. You'll also be able to sort of subdivide a little better by locations. If you have different types of locations, you can list that out. And then we're going to add the geolocation, so instead of just a map for each agency, you'll have sort of a landing page where we can map out everything within your general area. Each of these will be things that if you want to implement, we can sort of help make sure that we set it up exactly the way you need it for your agency. We'll also open up sort of some different listing options. So we've heard feedback of, well, that one page just said the location name and the area served, but we want a table that has phone numbers and addresses and what services we're offering. So we'll be able to customize those for you as well. So just some exciting ways that we can make things a little more easier for everyone to access, more user-friendly, and more structured. So instead of you just having a site page with a ton of different locations listed or trying to manually put in a map for each of your locations, we can structure all of this. We can display it in a lot of different ways just by having each location its own thing. And then going forward, when we do migrate to Drupal 8 in a few years, it's going to be a lot easier to move all the information and, again, customize it, serve it out in different ways that we couldn't if it's just all dumped down on the site page. All right, so what's next? This is awesome. What else you got, right? What's next? What do you need? We don't want to build anything that isn't going to serve your needs. So what we're really doing going forward, we've met all these points and we've talked to you all here and there, but we want to start making that even more strategic than it has been in the past. So we're going to come talk to you and find out more about your pain points. Nikhil mentioned we have a data visualization platform that's in its infancy now, and the more we're able to talk to you and find out what data you need visualized, the better we'll be able to build that out for you and provide those services. I would love to take that locations functionality that I told you about and aggregate all that information to GeorgiaGov so that not only can someone go to your agency and see where your agency locations are, they can go to GeorgiaGov and see everything that's located in their general area. But that only works if all our agencies add locations to their websites, right? So it comes back to that structured data. We need everyone to manage their content so that we can aggregate that up and really provide good value for it. To that end, we can help you with strategy and planning on that. If you say, sounds great, I have 200 locations and I don't want to have to manually add all those in, we can help you with the strategy for making that a lot easier. So definitely come talk to us afterwards. We've also been talking about how to sort of add some new homepage blocks for you. So this is just one mock-up of some things that we've been talking about. And again, it's something that we're not going to build until we know for sure that someone's going to need it and use it. We do know that we want you to all get rid of those rotators that you have on your home pages, and Peter will bring this up again later. That rotator with the scrolling and the pictures, and it's huge, basically doubles the size of your home page. And when we talk about performance, it's not really adding value. Nobody clicks on it, but it takes up a lot of space. So we're talking about, we know you have a reason for wanting it there. It's pretty, and you can put a bunch of stuff in one spot. So we're talking about some other ways that we can serve that need. And again, something we're happy to talk to you about and what you're looking for and how we can best meet your constituents' needs and your needs all at one time. So join us. We want to know what your pain points are, what your workflows are, how your agency works, and what your struggles are with your other content managers. And we want to know how you're trying to help your users. We're not going to come to you and say, hey, what modules do you think are really cool on Drupal.org's website? We're going to say, what are the problems you're trying to solve, and let us help you solve those. You already saw Johan here. You're going to be hearing from him a lot because he's going to want to come around and talk to all of you and ask exactly those questions. What's your workflows? What's your pain points? What are you trying to do that you can't do right now? Some of those we'll be able to help you solve right now. We'll say, that's awesome. We already have that. Let me show you how that works on the platform. Other things we'll be able to go back and say, hey, 5 different agencies want to do this. How can we partner together and make sure that we're meeting everybody's needs at once? Which the locations enhancements, that's exactly what we did. So we talked to a number of agencies, said, how can we meet all of those needs at one time? So that's what we're looking forward to, and we're really excited about it. We hope that all of you are excited about it too, and will join us in that. As Nikhil mentioned, one way to help you know what's going on, right, when locations is rolled out and when we have some layout options opened up for you, stay in the loop. So interactive.georgia.gov/blogs is where we have our weekly blog posts to let you know some of the things that are going on, some things that you should be thinking about on your own and what we're thinking about on our side. We have our email newsletters every month. Well, pretty much anyone who's signed up here should be on our newsletters already. So start reading them too. I know, I delete all my newsletters too, but this one we only send out when it's important. So we let you know right before we have code release, so you're not, trying to edit your website at 10 p.m. on a Thursday night and something goes down. Not down, but like if something doesn't work, if you're trying to edit at like 10 o'clock next Thursday, it probably won't work, right? We let you know that, and then once we've done a release, we let you know again what was new, what we changed, what we fixed. So definitely keep your eye out for those. GovTalks is another way that we can kind of give you more information about what we're thinking about. And then we have trainings, and I think Peter's going to mention that soon too, is we've got a small webinar coming up next week, 2 weeks from now, that you should all call into. It's just an hour, and it'll tell you more about how we're able to sort of structure your content with taxonomies. And then those agency check-ins. You'll be hearing from Peter and Johan to start scheduling things. So that's it. Thank you.